Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Deliberate. My name is Dennis Ngango, and today I've decided to have a devotion life update with you guys, as well as unpack day 7 of the devotion that we're currently doing together. This morning I woke up in quite a chilled mood, so I decided why not bring the same energy to the channel and have a bit of a conversation with you guys, more on the personal side of things in comparison to just focusing on the devotion itself. With that being said, get your lockdown slack, get your cup of tea, your cup of coffee, whatever it is, and get yourself ready for a bit of a much needed conversation. So in today's video, I thought I want to share with you guys where my mind has been over the past couple of weeks with regards to this deliberate journey that we're on together, and how exactly that relates to today's devotion. Halfway through May, I was actually recognized as a 40 under 40 African business icon by Business Elite Africa, which is a publication in Nigeria. And they were celebrating me for my contributions to transforming the African narrative through my other YouTube channel called Defining. As much as Defining was thriving and it was doing good things, at the back of my mind, I always knew that I would make faith-based content. And the more I would share anything spiritual on my other social media platforms, be it Twitter or Instagram or even WhatsApp itself, people would always resonate with it, as well as like just in conversations with my friends about a sermon that I watched or something that I read in the Bible. I always got a big response from them, and I also always felt like sharing it with them, right? I always had this feeling of, I want other people to know this too, and maybe if I tell it to them, they'll understand it in a different way. So I always knew making this type of content was in the books, but at the same time, I was quite scared to get into the conversation because I just felt like, and I don't know why I had this like point of view, but I just felt like I had to put everything on pause and go towards deliberate and creating this content, because God won't bless me anymore unless I actually answer this call and do it. Obviously, it's not nice saying something like that out loud, but as we've seen over the past couple of days, feelings aren't facts. And I think I made that feeling of me not pursuing or me not answering this call as quick as I did as something that God would then later on turn and use against me. Since getting into the space of actually creating content, I'm seeing more than anything that in those spaces where I had those feelings or those thoughts, God wasn't necessarily saying you have to start this channel or you have to start creating this content. I think it was more so of him saying that, he wants us to be more connected and to spend more time with one another. And through the past couple of weeks, through being deliberate and taking the time to get my faith going again and diminishing, some of those toxic thoughts that I had, I've learned that God really just needed me to be, number one, available. He needed me to be available to him and to make time for him. He also needed me to, number two, give him access, because obviously as I was having those thoughts, they just kept on getting worse and worse because I was not letting God contribute to a conversation that I clearly thought was about him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not adding up. The third thing that I've definitely obviously learned and seen that makes a big impact is definitely being a whole lot more present. I think God needs us to be present, not only in our conversations with him, but our different experiences that we have throughout the day, so that he can also meet us there. I don't know if you've had one of those moments where you'll be chilling or you'll be doing something minimal like washing dishes, and all of a sudden you're listening to music and God just plays something, or he meets you there in between and says something. So those are the things that he really required from me. And I won't lie, the past couple of days have been challenging when it comes to actually making time, because I'm editing, I'm packaging, I'm putting the videos together on the day. I'm also still working my full 9 to 5. I'm still here at home with my family, who are incredibly supportive. I mean, my sister alone is busy like watching all the content, helping make sure that everything's okay, because obviously I haven't made faith-based content like this before. So shout out to her for like helping me get through this and make sense of it. But what I'm trying to say is, even though it's been busy and things have been all over the place, just doing those three things of being available, giving him access, and being present, despite how busy it may be, have allowed me to meet him each and every day. Um, Over the past couple of days of doing the devotion, I won't lie, each and every day there's been a new blessing, a new opportunity. It's quite overwhelming, a new opportunity, and even a new milestone that is met. I mean, over the past 6 days, I had that conversation with, for those of you following me on social media, you'll know that I was in a conversation with the UN, which is quite cool. And defining also one of these past couple of days, reached 70k subscribers, which was also great. And my dad also, we saw on the other day, I think it was day 4, that my dad also, he's well. And even though he was exposed to a patient of his that had COVID, he didn't get it. And even for Youth Day in South Africa, which is this coming Tuesday, the 16th of June, I've had a couple of big opportunities the past couple of days that came up for that. So I don't know what's happening, but God has really met me as we've been doing this devotion. And I think it's just because this time around, I really gave myself the chance to be intentional about my relationship with him, so that we can dismiss all the different toxic thoughts and things that are happening in my mind. Irrespective of how crazy that thought was, I'm so grateful that it got me into the space of just getting to know God again in a different way and in a different experience. That intentional energy is exactly what Pastor Rick Warren is speaking about in day 4 of the devotion titled, You Have to Want to Hear from God. The scripture used in today's devotion is Deuteronomy 4 and Psalm 40, which actually have a lot of similarities between the two. In the first, we see Moses having a conversation with the Israelites with their obedience to God. Towards verse 29, we see Moses tells the Israelites that if they find themselves in a place where they have completely turned away from God, all they need to do is completely seek him. In verse 29, he then says, But even there, if you seek God, your God, you'll be able to find him if you're serious, looking for him with your whole heart and soul. When troubles come and all these awful things happen to you, in future days you'll come back to God, your God, and listen obediently to what he says. God, your God, is above all a compassionate God. In the end, he will not abandon you. He won't bring you to ruin. He won't forget the covenant with your ancestors, which he swore to them. I love the extension of this verse because a lot of the times when we go in a journey of wanting to hear more from God, a lot of the times that is fueled from a place of guilt. And this sermon is just basically saying to us that there's no need to feel guilt. There's no need to feel any shame if this is you turning around and starting a new relationship with God, because above all, he is a compassionate God. We see this principle being played out by David in Psalms 40, where he starts it off by even saying, I waited and waited and waited for God. At last he looked, finally he listened. He lifted me out of the ditch and pulled me from deep mud. He stood me up on a solid rock to make sure I wouldn't slip. He taught me how to sing the latest God song, a praise song to our God. Even though you may be away from God or you have been away from God in the past, doesn't disqualify you from his graces and him actually having a full-on good and blessed relationship with you. In the devotion itself, it's speaking about how we need to be intentional and desperate about hearing and experiencing God, which I actually can relate to, because when you are intentional, you actually are 100 times more aware and you actually seek the word more, to the extent that when God does speak to you, you have a couple of things in your mind that tell you, yeah, this is him. I think the main thing that I really took out from the devotion, especially taking into consideration the scripture as well, is that our communication and relationship with God is also honestly a two-way street. I think a lot of the times we wait in anticipation and we think God is just going to drop, gems. And a lot of the time he does, because, he's consistent with putting the energy in. But also at the same time, we actually have to participate in the relationship with God to receive His wisdom and actually know how to put it into action. Those were my thoughts on today's devotion and where my mind and experiences have been over the past couple of days and weeks. I do encourage you to share with me the same exact devotion life update and let me know how things have been going on your side. If you enjoyed the video, please do make sure to give it a like, and if you want more content like this, make sure to click the subscribe button below. My name is Dennis Ngango, and see you in tomorrow's video.